Shalom, all praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS who rule well. Peace and salutation to the elect. My name is Ainal. The title of this video is Paris will officially recognize the State of Palestine. Right, and pretty much this is going to the division prophesied in scriptures between America, Babylon the Great, and the EU and NATO, right, and their whole system collapsing. Right, so I kind of got like 2 points that I want to get into this video, but the main point is the division, which will come, right, regardless of whatever scenario, whatever Esau is doing behind the scenes, the division of these kingdoms will happen, right, these nations. So this is Revelations chapter 17, right, and I'm gonna get it from point 8 to kind of explain it a little bit more. So this is going to the fact that, America will rule after the Roman Empire, right? And basically become the Roman Empire, right? America is the revised Roman Empire. And it's currently ruling. It's prophesied that the nations will turn on her, okay? So this is Revelation 17 and 8. It says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. What is this going to? This is going to America, right? Coming out of the bottomless pit. But before that, it was the Roman Empire. Like I said, America, the revised Roman Empire. It says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. They that dwell on the earth shall wonder whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world when they beheld the beast that was and is not and yet is, right? And pretty much just like John Revelator marveled, at the woman when he was seeing the vision. It's the same way people are now wondering after America and how pretty much great it is, This is it says when they beheld the beast that was and is not and yet is, right? Because the deadly wound, which we get into, the Roman Empire had a deadly wound, but it was healed. That's why it says and is not and yet is, because it is through America, right? But it's not of Rome anymore. It says, and here the mind which have wisdom, the 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he comes, he must continue a short space. Right. So this is just going to, basically the kingdoms that had to rule in place. It says 1 is, which is the Roman Empire, and the other is not yet come, which is the British. Right. Let me grab that. And the 5 that fallen, the 5 that fell was what the Greek, the Spanish. You have Germania Major, Germania Minor, and the French. Right, so that's the 5 that fell. The 1 will be the Roman Empire, and the other is not yet come, which is the British. It says, in the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7th, and go into perdition. Because why? Out of the British came America, so America is the 8th, right? It says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are the 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Right, so these 10 horns go into NATO EU, right, which go into the topic of the video, which is what Paris will officially recognize the State of Palestine. Slakia, if I didn't read that earlier. It says Paris will officially recognize the State of Palestine. So that goes into France, which is a part of the NATO and EU. It says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which receive no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have 1 mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. So NATO EU gave their power unto the beast, right, which is America. It says, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. right? So Yahushua will return in the midst of World War III, and these nations will be fighting, and they're going to turn from their fight and target Yahushua when he returns. It says, and he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, they shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And that goes into the division part that I was talking about, because that's pretty much where we're at in prophecy and in the scriptures, with these nations disagreeing, and basically not ruling in one mind. Look what it says. It says Revelations 17:17, for Yahweh have put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, unto the words of Yahweh shall be fulfilled. Right. So, the Most High put it in their hearts, to give their kingdom over unto basically America, Babylon the Great, until the words shall be fulfilled. And we're at the time now where, pretty much they have been fulfilled. And what they're going to the part now where they're going to turn on her. This is Daniel. Daniel 2. Let me get Daniel 2. All right, Daniel 2 goes into the Roman Empire, right, which is America. Daniel 2, because we're living in a revised Roman Empire, right? The deadly one was healed. Daniel 2:40. It says, and the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and to do all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay, and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, as the toes of the feet were part of iron, part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Right. So currently America is partly strong because of their military might and partly broken because of their council, right, and how they're divided between themselves, and how they don't know which way they should rule, right? Basically, what they agree on and what they don't agree on. It says, and whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. Right. Pretty much the new revised Roman Empire, which is America, is divided. You have different nationalities of people ruling, right? Some up in, higher positions, and they're mingled together, but, they're not mixing, you know. So, that's how they're partly strong and partly broken, and it goes into them being divided. All right, let me grab this relations. All right. All right, so that was pretty much, it on that. Lord willing, you edify, well, not the video, but Lord willing, you got the understanding from what I just read. Right, and that right here, this Revelation 17:8, it says, the beast that thou saw was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, right, which is Europe, and go into in perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder. Right. So this what? So America fell, right? I'm Slovakia. The Roman Empire fell and went into the bottomless pit. And what came out of it was America during the Renaissance period, right? You got Revelations 20 here. This is Satan bound, right? It says Revelation 21, and I saw an angel come down from heaven having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Right? It's talking about the so-called white man, right? Because what? Who was ruling? The Roman Empire. And they fell for 1,000 years, and during that time, the so-called black man ruled during the Byzantine Empire, right? It says, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up, and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more. So the Roman Empire was deceiving the nations, right? It says, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loose a little season. So after the 1,000 years of being bound up in the bottomless pit, Satan will be loosed back out and, to go be the devil again and, deceive and all of that. So that bottomless pit is talking about Europe. You got Revelations 20:7. It says, and when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loose out of his prison. So after the Byzantine Empire, what happened? The Renaissance period happened, right? And it started over there in Europe, right? Italy, right? It says, and when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loose out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And that's exactly what's happening here in these last days. The revised Roman Empire, right, which is America, got out of that prison sentence. And now we're at the point now where what? They're about to battle to go to war with Gog and Magog, right, which is Russia, right? So Gog, Magog is Russia, and America is, getting ready for the battle. And it says the number of whom is as the sand of the sea, and that's because it's going to be World War III. All right, well, many nations fighting alongside the different sides. America will have their people, and Russia will have their people. So, I think that's everything I wanted to get on that. Right. So, Lord willing, you were edified from what I just explained to you. So now you know that America, came back out of the bottomless pit, at the revised Roman Empire, and they gathered themselves. These NATO and EU, right? And it basically what NATO and EU would turn and burn her with fire. Let me read this again because I don't remember reading it. Okay, Revelation 7:12 it says, "In the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast." So they gave their power and their strength and their might to America, right? It says these have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. So yeah, I did read this. So that's what happened. And ultimately down here it says what? "In the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate and naked and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire." So as you can see, person's prophecy, these the NATO EU will turn on America. And that's why we have what France said, but we'll get it. This is Matthew 12:25. It says, "And Yahweh knew their thoughts and said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand." He says, "And if Satan cast out Satan, who is divided against himself, how shall then his kingdom stand?" See, so that's the point. We have this kingdom, which is the revised Roman Empire, and along with that, you have America and they don't EU, and they're basically a kingdom together, but they're divided now because of the prophecies. So anyway, Lord willing, you understand that. It says Trump says Macron's statement on Palestine recognition carries no weight, and pretty much, like I said, Paris, intends to recognize the state of Palestine, right? So it says U.S. President Donald Trump has said that French leader Emmanuel Macron remarks about Paris' intentions to recognize the state of Palestine have no weight. It says his statement doesn't carry any weight. He's a very good guy. I like him, but that statement doesn't carry weight, he told reporters. So as you can see, you have America, right, and France in disagreement. It says the French president announced on July 24th that Paris will officially recognize the state of Palestine as at the September session of the United Nations General Assembly. Ireland, Spain, and Norway announced their recognition of the state of Palestine in 2024 amid rising tensions in the Middle East. Israel responds. So, pretty much they want this problem in the Middle East, fixed. This is another reason why the nations are going to hate the whore, right, which is America, and turn on America, right? It says Israel responded by recalling ambassadors from Dublin, Madrid, and Oslo for consultations, right? It says the heads of the Irish, Spanish, and Norwegian diplomatic missions were summoned to the Israeli Foreign Ministry. It says the Soviet Union, on which Russia is the legal successor, recognized the state of Palestine in 1980. Right. So as you can see, they're worried. Some nations are worried about the Middle East tension. So they're going ahead and trying to bring in their peace and safety by just agreeing that Palestine is a state. We should not fight them. And France is one of those people that is doing that. And Donald Trump is going against that. And France is a part of NATO. Let's see, it's France and NATO. There you go. It says yes, France is a member of NATO, right? So that's France is tied to the B system, and right now they're going against the B system, so they're divided. And pretty much, that's what I had on it. But so my second point that I want to bring out is that even if, because the scriptures here in 2 Corinthians 2:11 says, least Satan should get an advantage. Least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So I was like, honestly, I was like, why the hell would the France president even say that? Knowing that he's a part of NATO. And of course, I thought about the fact that the nations will hate the whore and eventually turn on them. I brought out Daniel, the fact that they're partly strong and partly broken. So all these things will come to pass. But then, for the reason I thought in my mind, what if this is just, Satan trying to throw tricks out there, scrambling, because of what's happening in the world, for that reason, because the Most High Yahweh, destroy the council, which is, so when I thought about it, I said it's stupid for them to even do that, but then I also thought about this scripture here, Isaiah 19, and just get it from one. Isaiah 19:1, it says, the burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord Yahweh rideth upon his swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And I will set the Egyptian against the Egyptian, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Right? So these are the times that we're living in when these things are happening. It says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. Right? And this is basically talking about America. Right? It says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof. And they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to the them that have familiar spirits, and to wizards. So this is what I thought about too. I said, why the hell would they, if it was something, why would they make this guy say that? But I understand that the Most High has destroyed the council, And I also thought to myself that it doesn't look good to even use that as an example, or to allow this French, guy to even say that, because even if it is something that they just told him to say, the world is watching, and it could make someone, rise up. People could rise up and agree, that's not part of the inside plan or whatever, and actually, make this thing happen, where they're going for the two-state solution, basically over in the Middle East, to just stop some problems that's happening in the world. So anyway, that was my second thought, and it made me think of this. Pretty much the lesson was there of these nations being divided, and like I said, this was like part 2, pretty much, of my second thought on it. The scriptures say, what all you're getting, get understanding, and understand that the Most High is, confounding their counsel, is very possible. And I thought about, everything I just said. So it brings me to this scripture here. It says, this is right here. So second Maccabees chapter 6, verse 17, it says, I have made these few observations by way of reminder. We will now get on with the story. It says, there was an elderly and highly respected teacher of the law by the name of Eleazar, whose mouth was being forced open to make him equal. Now this is in the GNT. Okay. It says, but he preferred an honorable death rather than a life of disgrace. So he spit out the meat and went willingly to the place of torture, showing how people should have courage to refuse unclean food, even if it cost them their lives. It says those in charge of the sacrifice had been friends with Eleazar for a long time. Because of this friendship, they told him privately to bring meat that was lawful for him to eat, He need only pretend to eat the pork, they said, and in this way he would not be put to death. But Eleazar made a decision worthy of his gray hair and advanced age. All his life he had lived in perfect obedience to Yahweh's holy laws. So he replied, kill me here and now. Such deception is not worthy of a man of my years. Many young people would think that I had denied my faith after I was 90 years old. If I pretended to eat this meat just to live a little while longer, it will bring shame and disgrace on me and lead many young people astray. Right. So, for whatever reason, this came to my mind. So even if, Esau is doing something that he thinks to be smart by having this French guy even, say those things, it could lead other people away from his true plans. Right. They're talking about greater Israel and things like that. They're also sending, missiles and whatnot to Ukraine. And France is one of those guys that's fighting so hard, for Ukraine. And those Ukrainians are JWOs too. So a lot of thoughts was in my mind when I heard him say it. But nonetheless, he said it, and it could lead people around to look at that guy speaking of these things and think like, yeah, maybe they should have a two-state solution, which would just bring them more problems, and that's how the Most High set it up. Also, I grabbed this Job 18. It says, Job 18:8. I'll start at 7. It says, the steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. For he is cast into a net by his own feet, and he walked upon a snare. Right? The scriptures talk about uproots of the people. Right? They're gonna, he could start something where people are uprooting because now they want a two-state solution because he thought, when I say he, I'm talking about Esau thought it was a smart idea to have one of his guys say, we want that two-state solution. So now more people could join in. So it's just a thought. Nonetheless, prophecy will be fulfilled. They're going to be divided. They're going to turn on America. So verse 25 again, it says, if I pretended to eat this meat just to live a little while longer, it will bring shame and disgrace on me and lead many young people astray. For the present, I might be able to escape what you could do to me, but whether I live or die, I cannot escape Almighty power, right? Yahweh Bashmi Shai. If I die bravely now, it will show that I deserve my long life. It will also set a good example of the way young people should be willing and glad to die for our sacred and respected laws. As soon as he said these things, he went off to be tortured. And the very people who had treated him kindly a few minutes ago now turned against him because they thought he had spoken like a madman. When they had beaten him almost to the point of death, he groaned and said, the Lord Yahweh, Bashmi Yahushai, possesses all holy knowledge. He knows I could have escaped these terrible sufferings and death, yet he also knows that I badly suffered these things because I fear him. So Eleazar died, but his courageous death was remembered as a glorious example, not only by young people, but by the entire nation as well. All right, so, pretty much that's all I had. Lord willing, edify from the lesson. Shalom to the whole elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.